Well, hey folks, today we're going to be talking about the ins and outs, do's and don'ts of a basic shotgun. To start with, our main prop today is going to be the Remington 870 Wingmaster. It's clear. Always double check, make sure the chamber's clear. An extractor can fail and cause a shell to stick. So always double check that. We're safe. So let's just talk about some basics of shotguns. I did a video not that long ago about all-around shotguns, and I mentioned the 870, my Browning Auto 5, etc., etc. Talked about a Mossberg 500 and some other shotguns that are really good, go anywhere, do anything shotguns. Today let's just talk about some basic ownership details and things that you need to know about a shotgun. There's a few different types of barrels that you will find, specifically when searching for used shotguns, but even with some new shotguns. So let's talk about them. The most common today on a new manufactured shotgun is going to have a vent rib. See the ventilations here? And a rib. It helps align your eye with the front bead. This one has a mid bead. I'm not sure you can see that, but it has a mid bead, and and that acts as a rear sight, allows you to line it up, make sure you're straight. And then they're going to have choke tubes as a general rule. I have another barrel here. Let me see here. And you can see that silver piece with the notches is a choke tube. Now, if you're looking at older shotguns, you're looking at the used market, you may come across a plain barrel. There's nothing wrong with this. It's going to be a little bit lighter as a general rule. You can still line up the front bead with the back of the receiver, and most of us are just going to be looking at our target anyway and not paying much attention to the bead, so it's not that big a deal. This here is what they call a plain barrel. No vent rib. There's also what some companies called a matte rib, which isn't a true rib, but it has like serrations or scrolling on the front, on the top of the barrel. Cuts down a little bit on glare. Does kind of help your eye pick up the center of the barrel a little bit, but not a true rib. Still basically a plain barrel. And then on older shotguns, you may also find a fixed choke. See, there's no choke tube in that barrel. This is a 28-inch modified barrel. Nothing wrong with this. This shotgun came with this barrel. With a 28-inch modified, you can do a lot. Now, this is an older barrel. It's not rated for steel. Some of the newer, even the fixed choke barrels, a lot of guys will tell you that a fixed choke barrel isn't rated for steel shot. That's not 100% true. There's a good chance it's not, but there's also a chance it is. It depends on when it was manufactured. Remington had a specific date, and I don't remember exactly what it was, where they said that their fixed chokes of modified or greater were rated for steel. Modified or looser were rated for steel. But I know that this is before that. This was an early 60s manufacture. Could you shoot some smaller steel shot out of it, especially for like dove hunting, number 7s, things like that, without trouble? More than likely. But if you have an older shotgun and you're not sure about it, then it's better to either contact the manufacturer and remove all doubt, or use alternatives such as bismuth, tungsten polymer. The new Boss copper is supposed to be rated for lead-only barrels. Things like that. Or just stick with lead shot and use a different shotgun for steel. But if you're searching for a shotgun, especially if you're searching the used market, you're going to find a lot of good deals on fixed choke barreled shotguns. Now, if you find something like a Mossberg 500 or a Remington 870, you would be able to purchase either from the manufacturer or aftermarket a barrel with screw-in choke tubes. I'll give you some examples. This gun came with this 28-inch plain barrel, modified choke. A good all-around. You could dove hunt with this. You could squirrel and rabbit hunt with this. You could pheasant hunt with it. As long as you kept your shots close, you could probably turkey hunt with it, but it wouldn't be ideal. But shooting crows, shooting varmints, you could shoot slugs out of it. You can certainly shoot buckshot and whatnot. It's a good all-around jack of all trades, master of none. Or you can buy an accessory barrel, such as this one. This is a 30-inch vent rib. I also have a 26-inch vent rib. I'll show you that here in a little bit. That's what's on the gun. Now, this is a Wingmaster, so it's fancy. It's got the fancy blued. I could have put an Express or an SP barrel on it. It would have been a little cheaper, but I wanted it to match the rest of the gun and not look off. I found this online. This one says right on it, 3.5-inch chamber for super mags, 3-inch for others. I have a 2 3/4-inch non-magnum receiver, so I'm only going to shoot 2 3/4 out of this. Now I could change the ejector and use 3-inch shells, and I may do that at some point. There's a fairly economical option for that, where you remove the rivets, remove the old one, and there's a company that has a new 3-inch Magnum ejector that you can install that you just screw in and lock it down with Loctite. And I may do that and turn this into a Magnum, but as I've stated before in my other videos, 2 3/4 inch is more than enough for most applications, especially with shot like tungsten, bismuth, the new Boss copper, things like that. They may be a little more expensive, but they're not that much more expensive than premium steel, the Boss copper, those type of things. So just keep that in mind. Now, what's this deal with choke tubes? Well, where that barrel had a fixed choke, this barrel has a screw-in choke, like I mentioned, which is exactly what it sounds like. It just screws in. And I'll remove this. And I'll show you. It adds a lot of versatility to the gun. The main chokes that you're going to use, full, modified, and improved cylinder. A gun that says it comes with a full set of choke tubes generally comes with 3. A full, modified, and improved cylinder. A full can be used for squirrel hunting, long-range pheasants, some waterfowl applications, things like that, and even turkey hunting, although many prefer an extra full or a super full for that. Modified is just your general purpose. I've used it for everything from quail hunting, rabbit hunting, squirrel hunting, crow hunting, pheasant hunting. It's just a general purpose choke. And then an improved cylinder is going to be for close-in, fast-moving birds, like dove hunting, decoying ducks, things like that. And a choke tube is going to cost you somewhere between 20 and 50 bucks, depending on the type of tube you're going to buy. You can spend more. You can spend over $100 on specialty turkey chokes and things like that. But as a general rule, a flush fit choke tube like this from either the manufacturer or from a place like Carlson's is going to cost you 20 to 50 bucks, depending on the type of tube and whatnot. Whether it's steel rated, things like that. And it allows you to change. This is a mid handicap, but it's basically a full. $6.95, I think, is what it is. So it's basically a full choke. But I can put a modified, an improved cylinder, an extra full. I can put a skeet choke. I can put a cylinder choke. I can put a rifled choke in here and shoot slugs. I can put an improved cylinder and shoot rifled slugs, Foster style slugs, Brennicke's, things like that. But as you can see, it's really easy to install and uninstall. Now, I don't like it having these any more than finger tight. So I jam my finger in here and just give it a good twist. Now it's fairly tight. And with some force, I can take it out. If you really, really crank them down with a choke tube wrench, you can just snug them a little bit with choke tube wrench, you're going to be fine. If you really crank them down with choke tube wrench, by heating and cooling when you shoot it, they can get stuck. And also, these threads are really fine, and you can booger up the threads. So you don't want to do that. I prefer just finger tight. And then even with that, after putting 100 rounds through it or whatever, sometimes they're going to get a little stuck. So you want to make sure you have a choke tube wrench. Carlson's, for the longest time, came with choke tube wrenches. The last few I've bought didn't. Kind of surprised me. But I keep one on my keychain. Also, a quarter will usually take the slotted ones. Winchester for years came with, sorry, I got an itch. Winchester came with not so flush fit with a knurl on the outside, and those were made to be installed with your fingers. A lot of guys like the look of a flush fit choke tube, and most companies have gone to that now. But you can get extended choke tubes. They usually have knurling on them or something where you can grab a hold of them. But it's always a good idea to have one of these, and I've got one on my keychain at all times. So that's part of the basics. Having a shotgun with the ability to change barrels is a must, in my opinion, if you're only going to have one shotgun. If you've got multiples, I've got some Winchester 97s and some single shots and things like that that I can't buy accessory barrels for and whatnot. That's fine. But for my main hunting shotguns, my main shotguns have interchangeable barrels. All of my 12 gauge main shotguns have multiple barrels. My Beretta 390 has a slug barrel and a 28-inch vent rib barrel. My Browning Auto 5 has a 30-inch full, a 28-inch modified vent rib, a 26-inch vent rib Invector Plus choke tube barrel, which in my opinion is the best, the Invector Plus, for steel shot and whatnot for an Auto 5, but an Invector is close. And then I also have a Japanese manufactured slug barrel or Buck special barrel, a 24-inch improved solder choke rifle sighted barrel that I can shoot slugs. Makes for a very versatile package. This gun, I've got the 28-inch plain barrel. If I'm going rabbit hunting or something like that, and I've got a buddy that doesn't have a shotgun, I'm probably just going to put that 28-inch plain barrel on it. That if he drops the gun or something like that, though that's the original barrel, he's not going to booger up one of my good barrels. And that modified is going to be fine for most of what we're going to do. So it's kind of just my spare beat-around barrel. Then I have this 30-inch barrel that is good for wing shooting, for dove hunting, duck hunting, things like that. It would work for all sorts of stuff. You know, squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting. I could turkey hunt with it, whatnot. Not going to be my first pick, but for duck hunting, dove hunting, crow hunting, things like that. If I'm going to hunt with buckshot, whether either for predators or for deer, I'm going to use this because I'm going to get a smoother, better swing. This would be the barrel I'm going to use. Then I have the shorter 26-inch vent ribbed barrel with choke tubes that is a little bit lighter, a little bit handier. If I'm going to turkey hunt with this gun, this is the barrel I'm going to have installed. If I'm going to rabbit hunt or quail hunt pheasants behind dogs, something like that, this is the barrel I'm going to have installed. If I decided to take this gun deer hunting with slugs, I'm going to put, more than likely, I'm going to put some clamp-on fiber optic style sights on this. I'm going to put an improved cylinder or rifle choke tube, and I'll use this to shoot slugs. Now with that rear bead, I may find that I don't need the sights. I could try that out first, but there's some options. I can put some clamp-on sight, low-profile clamp-on sights, or some high rifle-style sights on it. Put an improved cylinder choke tube or a rifle choke tube, shoot a few slugs, get it sighted in, and I could slug hunt with it. Hunting in an area that's slug only, whatnot. It's 2 inches longer than mini slug barrels, but the 26-inch would work just fine. It's a good compromise. This is a really nice, light, easy to handle barrel. It's short. Again, I'm clear. It's short. It's considerably lighter than the 30-inch barrel. It's great. Something to think about with 870s, just in case you're not aware. There's 2 styles of retention for an 870. One will have knurls inside the cap and a little plastic piece that sticks up, and that's how it will lock in place. Another one, let me look here. A little ball detent right there. And the cap will have knurls on it, and it'll catch on that spring-loaded ball detent. This one does not have that. I don't believe the 26 does. But someone replaced the magazine cap on that gun. More than likely they lost theirs, or they boogered up the threads or something like that. They replaced that magazine cap with a smooth one that was made for the knurled plastic piece. So there's a solution for that. Some people will use an O-ring. And this works for a lot of guns that have worn out retention systems that don't keep the barrel nut tight. I just bought this wavy washer. Now I bought this from an online manufacturer specifically for firearms, but you find the right size, you can get it at hardware stores or whatever. You just find one. It's just a wave lock washer, and it'll keep the barrel tight. That's generally specific to 870s, but there's other guns that use them as well. Just some basic shotgun knowledge, things that you need to know. Again, this is just do's and don'ts and whatnot with shotguns. One of the don'ts, don't over tighten your choke tubes. That's very important. Make sure that your shotgun has the proper retention system. If I shot this without that spring, the barrel could come loose and I could have headspace issues and all sorts of things. You don't want that. Some people will just, every couple of shots, make sure it's tight. That could get tedious and you could forget too. So, basic knowledge of shotguns. There's multiple gauges: 12, 20, 16, 10, 410, 28 gauge, and there's other gauges. There were 14 gauge shotguns, not very common, but there are a few out there. A lot of people think there's 16 gauges, but there was a 14 gauge. There was a 32 or a 34 there for a while. There's some oddball stuff out there. There was a 9mm shotgun. But the basic stuff you're going to find: 12 gauge, 20 gauge, a few 16s, some 28s, things like that. 12 gauge is the good, go anywhere, do anything shotgun, but a 20 gauge will work for sure. You want to make sure you have the right barrel for the right task. A 28-inch is a good multi-purpose, go anywhere, do anything barrel. That's why a lot of shotguns with one barrel came, in the old days, fixed, modified choke, 28-inch barrel. It was just a good compromise for everything. And a lot of shotguns today are going to come with choke tubes, but are going to come with a 28-inch barrel. It's long enough that you get a decent swing and lead and whatnot. Short enough that it's not super cumbersome if you're rabbit hunting or something like that. It's a good compromise gun. If you're only going to have one barrel in a shotgun, a 28 is not bad. I don't mind a 26 unless it's just a super light. Some guns handle better with a 26-inch barrel than others. My Auto 5, for instance, swings and handles really well as a 26. It kind of comes to life as a 26. Well, it's a longer barrel. It's a little more cumbersome, but it's a heavy gun. An 1100 will generally work really well with a 26-inch barrel. It's a heavier gun. But a lighter gun, well, my 20 gauge as well, is pretty nice with a 26-inch barrel. But some lighter guns, you may prefer a 28 or a 30. I just happened to end up with both of these barrels. I would have been happy with either one. But now that I have both, the 26 and the 30, I've got the 26 for rabbit hunting, quail hunting, things like that. Would it work for dove hunting? Of course it would. But it's a little light and a little whippy, in my opinion. The 28 has a little smoother, or the 30, has a little smoother swing and whatnot. Also, these are light contour barrels. The standard contour Remington barrel is heavier, and a 26 would have been great as a multi-purpose with those. Like the old Expresses and things, they had heavier barrels. This is a thinner diameter, and then it swages out where the choke tube goes. A lot of barrels do that. Because of that, it's just a little bit lighter, but it's going to be a great rabbit hunting gun. I mean, it just comes up perfect. 870s fit me so well. I've shot them since I was 11 years old. An 870 has always just fit me perfect. And I mean, I can close my eyes and I'm looking straight down a barrel. I have done so much snap shooting with an 870 shotgun, usually an Express. I've done so much snap shooting with an 870 shotgun. I've killed so many birds on the rise, rabbits, things like that. I love this. But you got to have a gun that fits you. And if that means you got to have a little bit taken off the stock, or have a recoil pad added to lengthen the length of pull, or get an adjustable recoil pad with inserts and things like that, shorten the stock, adjust the drop, get some shims made, whatever it takes, make sure the gun fits you. If you close your eyes, shoulder that gun, and then open it, and you're not looking right down that barrel, you need to make some adjustments. It may cost you a little bit of money at a gunsmith, but you need to make some adjustments. Not everyone's built the same. I've got no legs and monkey arms. Not everything fits me right. But an 870s, 1100s just fit me perfect. I've always liked them. I've always shot them very well. I have some far more expensive guns. Browning Auto 5, Beretta 390. And I shoot them very well too. But I'll be honest, that 870 just feels the best of all of them. And I've wanted another one for a long time. I found this one pretty clean for a good price, and I picked it up. And then I bought some accessory barrels. I've got some money in it. But that gun will last me a lifetime. And my daughter and my grandchildren, which I don't have yet, but I will someday, will be able to enjoy that gun for years and decades to come. Like I said, this is just general purpose knowledge about shotgun. We've talked about choke tubes, about different purposes of choke tubes. Talked about vent ribs, plain barrels, fixed choke barrels, screw-in choke barrels. If you're looking at a used shotgun, you may find an older shotgun with a poly choke. And that's going to be this big bulbous thing on the top, on the end. That's going to be fairly heavy. And you adjust, you screw it like you would a screw-in choke tube. And you adjust it to full, modified, improved cylinder, extra full. There's usually a setting called slug, which is kind of like skeet. It's a little tighter than cylinder bore, which is no choke, but not as tight as improved cylinder. And it works well for slugs. Just a little bit of choke. They were very popular before screw-in choke tubes, and they remained popular until the early 2000s when the company went out of business. Polychoke, even at one time, made the Polychoke 2, which screwed in where your choke tubes were, but it then allowed you to have adjustability. Those weren't super popular. Truglo also had one of those. I believe it was called the Titan, and it was made out of titanium, and it was an adjustable style choke. And I had one of those, and the reason I had that was to add a little bit of weight to a 24-inch barrel and make it swing better. On a Mossberg 835 I did not care for that gun. It went down the road. It kicked way too hard, even with light loads, like 1 1/8 ounce target loads and things. I just didn't care for it. So it went down the road. But it was a reliable shotgun. And you may really like one, but I didn't care for it. I think I got poison ivy if you notice me itching my hand a little bit. So we've talked about chokes. We've talked about different types of barrels. Plain barrels, vent ribs, things like that. Whether you have an automatic or a pump or whatever, loading and unloading is going to be very similar. You're going to need a plug most places when you're hunting, except for maybe deer, snow geese during the special season, things like that, will require you to have your magazine blocked where it only holds 2 shells, so you'll have a maximum capacity of 3. 2 in the tube, 1 in the chamber. I'm not going to take this plug out, but it's basically just a long cylinder of either plastic or wood that blocks the magazine. If you take it out on an 870, you'll be able to put 4 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber for a maximum of 5. On a Mossberg, I believe it's 6 in 1. And other guns, it's going to vary, but you're going to want to make sure you have a plug. Preferably, you want a gun with screw and chokes, so you'll have the ability for steel shot and whatnot. Some guys will say, well, I bought this old shotgun, I had it threaded for thin wall choke tubes. Not all thin wall choke tubes, many thin wall choke tubes are not rated for steel shot, so keep that in mind. Preferably, you're going to want a gun with screw and chokes. But you know all about that now. You want just a general purpose beat around shotgun, a fixed modified. It's going to suit you fine, especially if you're not a waterfowl hunter. You'll be fine. But keep in mind, many jurisdictions make you use steel shot or other non-toxic shot for doves and other migratory birds. So keep that in mind as well. Some people will not use, especially a 12 gauge, without a recoil pad. 2 of my 3 main 12 gauges don't have recoil pads. And I find that it's not that bad. You just have to make sure you shoulder the gun properly and hold it tight into your shoulder and get used to that so that you rock with the recoil instead of it punching you and coming back into you. If you don't have a recoil pad, even with light loads in a 12 gauge, and you hold the gun pretty loose and it just jams into your shoulder, you're going to have a sore shoulder in short order. So get used to pulling it in tight to shoot instead of holding it really loose. I made a video on Facebook not that long ago about mitigating recoil, and that's the biggest thing. Especially, with light loads and things, you're probably not going to have too much trouble dove hunting, shooting clay birds, things like that. It's not going to bother you too much. But if you're turkey hunting or you're shooting slugs, you want to pull that in. Give me a second, I need to adjust these real quick. It's starting to slip off my nose. That's better. Okay. You want to pull it tight into your shoulder so that your body is being pushed instead of it just jamming into your shoulder. It's going to make a big difference. Think about this. I can take the same amount of force, put my fist up against your hand, and push with the same amount of force. That's not bad. But if I take my fist and do this with the same amount of force, now my hand's sore. It's the same thing with your shoulder. If you're not holding that gun tight to your shoulder, you're going to feel more recoil, and it's going to affect you a lot more. So, keep that in mind. Sorry, folks. I just got to get these right. We'll keep talking. You're blurry now. That's fine. There we go. Much better. Every now and then they get smashed on my face or whatever, and I've got to readjust them. Not that big a deal. To mitigate the recoil, hold it tight to your shoulder. That's going to do more to help with recoil than any recoil pad. But most people can get by with a 1/4 inch more or a 1/4 inch less in length of pull without too much trouble. So there are some manufacturers that make a slip-on neoprene recoil pad with multiple inserts, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, etc., to change length of pulls and whatnot. You can get one of those and put the 1/4 inch insert. It's not going to help tremendously with recoil, but it will help. It will give you that 1/4 inch of padding, and you should still be able to use the shotgun fairly well. Something else to think about. Sometimes these old guns, someone has shortened them or put a longer stock or whatever. You want to check and make sure the length of pull is right for you. An easy way to do that, grab the wrist of the stock like this, hold it out like that. You should have, with your elbow bent, you're not going to be able to see because we're on the wrong side, but you should have, you know, somewhere between an inch and a half an inch and an inch between your elbow. If it's up against your bicep, it's too long. If it's down here, it's too short. But something, you're not going to be able to see it. But somewhere, you ain't much space. Enough to just comfortably fit right here. A little shorter is always better than a little longer. A little shorter, you can bear down on it, you can make it work. If you've ever shot a youth shotgun that a child had, you've probably noticed that you can shoot it fairly well. But if you've ever shot your buddy's shotgun that has gorilla arms, that has a 15.5-inch length of pole, you've noticed that it catches on your armpit when you shoulder it. And it's out here, and you just can't get comfortable with it. A little shorter is always better. Plus, if it's a little short, always put a slip-on recoil pad, lengthen the length of pull. If it's a little too long, you're going to have to pay a gunsmith to cut it off to fit a recoil pad or a butt plate or whatever onto it. And that's going to cost you a little bit of money. Some guys just have short arms and have trouble with things like that. And out-of-the-box shotguns just don't fit them that well. Know that ahead of time. Know that you may need to get a shorter stock, a longer stock, things like that. I know a couple of guys, but I know one in particular, buddy of mine. Bigger guy, like me, but he's short. He's like 5'4", short arms. His favorite all-around shotgun is a youth model Browning BPS that I'd say from the late 80s, early 90s, with a short length of pull, like 13 inches, maybe 12.5, something, short length of pull, and like a 22-inch barrel with choke tubes. It's 20 gauge, it's 3-inch. He shoots it great. We've shot clay birds together. He's rabbit hunted, squirrel hunted with it. He's used it. He's older than me, and he's used it since he was like 12. And it works great for him. Full-grown man, but he uses that used shotgun. It fits him well. That's something else to think about. If you're of smaller stature, if you've got short arms, send this up for a woman, something like that. A teenager that's not very big, etc. A 26-inch barrel may swing great for you, where a bigger guy needs a 30 or a 32. Those are all things to consider. It's got to fit you well. It's got to feel good when you shoulder it. If it doesn't fit right, if it doesn't feel good, you're not going to shoot it well. Just the fact that it feels good is going to give you more confidence when you're making that shot. Whether you're shooting clay birds, or you're in a dove field, or you're just calling in some crows with some buddies, or you're trying to kick up a couple of rabbits for dinner, or you're shooting some squirrels over hickory nut trees, or you're shooting deer over dogs with buckshot, or whatever it is, the fact that that gun feels good when you shoulder it is going to give you much more confidence. The fact that you're looking right down that rib when you shoulder it is going to make you shoot better. Some of the newer guns have shims and whatnot that help you custom fit that gun. Some of them have adjustable stocks, things like that. Those are extremely beneficial to get the right fit. And you may have in mind, I want a Benelli Super Black Eagle. That's been on my bucket list forever. That's fine. But you pick it up and it just doesn't fit you well. But the guy behind the counter says, hey, I've got this Winchester 1300 with choke tubes, and somebody cut the stock off a little bit. I think it's going to fit you better. And you shoulder and it fits like a dream. That 1300 costs you 350, 400 bucks. That Benelli is going to cost you $1,500. The Benelli is supposedly a better built gun, etc., but you're going to shoot that 1300 better because it fits you. Buy the 1300. Later, save your money, get the Benelli, go to a gunsmith, get it fitted to you, but get the gun that fits you. I'm not a fan of Mossberg 500s. There's nothing wrong with them. They actually fit me fairly well. I think they're a little light for what they are, and they recoil a little bit, but they fit me good. I shoot them well, but I'm just not a fan. The 870 fits me every bit as well, and I'm just more confident with it because I like the gun better. It's going to make a big difference. But maybe, you're like me. You grew up around 870s. You grew up around 1100s. Things like that. And that's what you want. But you try a Winchester Super X pump, an old 1200. You try a Mossberg 500. And one of them just feels right. Get the gun that feels good to you. It doesn't matter if it's a $250 shotgun that doesn't have any bluing or finish left on the wood and has rust and scratches and stuff all over it. If it fits you well and it feels good in your hands, you're going to shoot it well. You can spend $3,000 on a custom shotgun. And if the length of pull's too long or it just doesn't feel right in your hands, you're not going to shoot it well. Now, the whole point of a custom shotgun is to have it made to where it fits you perfect. But I've known guys that spent a lot of money on guns like Krieghoffs and things like that. And, sorry guys, whenever I adjust these, I've always got to play with them and get them right. Hope I'm not bothering you too much with that. There, that's better. I've known guys that spent a lot of money on a Browning Citori or a Krieghoff or an Alferman or whatever. Some of you don't even know that last one, but it's a high-end custom level shotgun. I've always wanted one of these. Man, this is a nice gun. And they are. Browning Super Post, something like that. I've always wanted one of these. They find one on the gun shelf. They get a pretty good deal on it. I've always wanted one of these. And then they take it out and they can't shoot it. It doesn't shoot well. They got an old 870 sitting in their closet that they shoot better. Why? Because everyone is built different. Everyone's made different. You've got different body compositions, different body fat levels, different amounts of muscle, etc., etc. And because of that, the distance from your jaw to your eyes is going to be different. Everything's different. No one shotgun is going to fit everyone perfect. And most out-of-the-box shotguns are built for an average person that doesn't really exist. I learned a long time ago that 870s and 1100s fit me really well. Browning Auto 5 fits me pretty well. I'm kind of in that average zone where a lot of guns fit me pretty good. But there's some guns that don't fit me well, and I don't shoot them well, like a Browning BPS, a fine shotgun, a very well built shotgun. Some people love them. I always shoot them high. No matter what I do, I can't get down on them. I'm always seeing about that much rib, so they always shoot high for me. They probably would be okay as a trap gun, but for general purpose shotgun, they just don't work well for me. I've always had that problem with a BPS. Now, a Winchester 1200, 1300, the new Super X pumps fit me pretty good. Mossberg 500 has always fit me pretty good. Remington 870s, Remington 1100s have always fit me pretty good. Auto 5s, it kind of depends on when they were manufactured, whether it has a Japanese stock or a Belgian stock, things like that. Some fit me really well, some don't. The one I have now fits me pretty good. Berettas, Benellis, I have to adjust the shims to get them to fit me right, but it's great because I can do that and I can make it fit me right. I have a Beretta 390 that I've had for a long time, and it fits me really well, and I shoot it really well. For a little while, I had an extended recoil pad on it, and it didn't fit me as well, and I wasn't shooting it as well. I finally bit the bullet, took that thing off, put the old butt plate back on, and now it fits me better, and it's shooting better for me. I just had to swallow my pride a little bit and realize my arms aren't as long as I think they are. And that extra length of pole was messing me up. I found that out when I was shooting clay birds. I've done squirrel hunt, rabbit hunt, things like that, never really noticed it. But when I was shooting clay birds with a buddy, I wasn't breaking near as many birds as I typically would. And I'm not a great shot, but I was less than 25%. And that's not normal for me. So I changed back. Now I'm shooting really well. Make sure the gun fits you. Make sure it fits your purpose. If all you're ever going to do with it is turkey hunt, a 22-inch barrel or 24-inch barrel, that's going to be fine. That's probably even going to be fine for rabbits or something like that. Certainly going to be fine for home defense. If you're going to squirrel hunt, rabbit hunt, things like that, a 26, a 28, maybe a 30, it's going to be a better gun for you. If you want one that's going to do everything, a 26 or a 28 is going to be your best bet. A 30 will work, but it may be a little long for some things. If all you're going to do is shoot skeet, trap, sporting clays, occasionally dove hunt, maybe some waterfowl hunting, something like that, a 30 or maybe a 32. Could you turkey hunt with it or something like that? Of course you could, but there's better options. You may do so much with a shotgun that you realize you really need two barrels, a 30 and a 26 or a 24. That's okay. One gun with one barrel may not fit all your purposes. That's fine. But figure that all out. Learn how to properly operate it. We've learned just the ins and outs, basic shotgun. I didn't go through where the safeties are and things like that. I just basic stuff about a shotgun, chokes, barrels, how to pick something. Doesn't matter. Okay, you like auto loaders, fine. Get you a good auto loader. You like pumps, get you a good pump. If you're new to shotguns, start with a pump and go from there. That's why I use this 870 as an example. You can shoot them really fast. Once you get good at it, you can shoot them as fast as you would an autoloader, and they're going to work really well for you. Like I've said before, a shotgun is the most versatile gun you're ever going to own. You can shoot slugs, you can shoot buckshot, you can shoot birdshot. It's going to work really well. If you only got one gun in your cabinet, a shotgun needs to be it. You can use it for home defense. You can use it to turkey hunt, to squirrel hunt, to rabbit hunt. You can deer hunt with it, with slugs, etc. You could even elk hunt or whatever with the right slugs. Shoot feral hogs, black bears, blah, blah, blah. Buckshot, birdshot. It's so versatile. But you need to have the right type of barrel for your purpose. Does a vent rib barrel work better? Does a plain barrel work better? Etc., etc. You need to pick the right chokes. We went over that a little bit. Full choke or extra full for turkeys, things like that. Full choke maybe for waterfowl, etc. Squirrel hunting, modified for just general purpose. You're going to be doing a little bit of squirrel hunting, a little bit of rabbit hunting. You may flush some quail, etc. Throw a modified in there to do a little bit of everything. Improved cylinder for dove hunting, for decoying ducks, for shooting slugs, things like that. So pick the right chokes, the right system. Maybe a fixed modified is going to be fine for you. That's fine. If you're going to do a lot of clay bird shooting, a lot of target shooting, things like that, screw-in choke tubes are the way to go. If you're going to do a vast array of hunting, screw-in chokes are the way to go. But a poly choke can work too. Get the right barrel length. But the most important thing, get a shotgun that shoulders where you're looking right down the rib and that fits you like a glove. And if it means you got to go to a gunsmith and get the stock worked on, if it means you've got to buy a recoil pad or a comb piece or whatever the case may be, you need to have a little shaved off of the comb, whatever, get it to fit you right. You may have to spend a little bit of money, but even a little bit of money on a cheap shotgun can make it shoot better than $1,000 gun that doesn't fit you properly. And that's the most important part. A few other things to think about. Where the safety is. Some people are just used to it being up here and it has to be there. Well, then you're going to be with a Mossberg Maverick or a Winchester or something like that. You like them back here, Remington's the way to go. You like that thumb safety, then Mossberg's going to be the way to go. Those are things to think about too. But not as important because you can get used to different locations. Triggers. Some shotguns just have horrendous triggers. A good gunsmith can lighten them up and smooth them up a little bit. For 870s and for some other guns, you can even buy aftermarket triggers from companies like Timney. That'd definitely be the way to go if you're going to shoot it as a dedicated slug gun. Or if you're going to shoot card shoots, things like that. That's something else to think about. You're looking for a multi-purpose shotgun, but you like to go to turkey shoots. That's where a 28 or a 30-inch barrel is going to be better. The 26 will work. It's going to be loud, especially if you're shooting indoor shoots, where you're shooting in a house to shoot outside. The shorter barrels are going to be loud. Ported barrels are a no-no for stuff like that. If you're shooting under any type of enclosure, things like that, don't shoot ported barrels. Even with earplugs, it's not going to be comfortable for you or the people around you. They're not going to like it. I had a 24-inch barrel that was ported. I shot it at a lot of shooting matches. I actually had guys ask me not to shoot it anymore. It's just too loud. But if you like to do that type of stuff, having a 30-inch barrel may be beneficial. If you do a lot of trap shooting, a longer barrel could be very beneficial. If you're shooting skeet, sporting clays, 28-inch barrel is going to be fine. A 26 will work, but a 30 may be better. All of that stuff comes into play. But the nice thing about most modern shotguns is you can buy a couple different barrels of different lengths and make it fit the purpose you want. Like I said, this gun, now this is 2 3/4 inch. That's not a disadvantage. It really isn't. But 3-inch would be a little more versatile. But having a 26-inch barrel, I can rabbit hunt. I can turkey hunt. I can shoot slugs out of it if I want to, without it being too long and cumbersome. And then if I decide to go dove hunting, or duck hunting, or I decide to do crow hunting, something like that, some sorts of birds, whatever, that 30-inch barrel is going to be really good. If I just want to loan it to a buddy and have a general purpose do anything gun, we're going to maybe shoot some squirrels, we may do some rabbit hunting, we may flush a few quail, whatever, I throw that 28-inch modified barrel on it and be able to do anything with it. Most of my shotguns have multiple barrels, and there's a reason for it. It helps me tailor it to what I'm going to do. But here's something else to think about. And we'll close out here real quick. Something else to think about. A short barrel, like this one, 26-inch barrel, that's fairly short. If I've only got one barrel, there's other options to make the swing a little smoother and whatnot. I could buy extended choke tubes. Stick out 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Depending on the manufacturer, they may cost a little more, but they're not going to cost as much as another barrel. And that will help my swing. I can have a few flush fit choke tubes, use it for rabbit hunting, use it for quail hunting, something like that. I'm going to go dove hunting, duck hunting, whatnot. I use the extended choke tubes. A barrel is going to cost you a few $100. Choke tubes are going to cost you between $25 and $50 a piece. I could buy a set of both for this 26-inch barrel and have the best of both worlds. The only thing that's not going to change is my sighting radius is going to be about the same. But that's not that big a deal because you're not using the sights for the most part. You're just swinging the gun. And the smoothness of the swing is the big thing. So if I put some 1.5 inch long extended choke tubes on this gun, especially like Colonial Arms or something that has a real thick front wall, or kicks or comp-in chokes that are longer and heavier, it could really change the swing of that shotgun and make it more like a 28-inch barrel. I could take that plug out and replace it with something a little heavier, with a steel rod, something like that. I could take that plug, cut a piece of dowel rod the right length, drill some holes and pour some lead in it. And with that, you could put the lead toward the back or toward the front and change the balance of the gun. There's a lot of things you can do, but you gotta make the gun fit you right. Some people really like those mid beads. If you've got a gun that fits you perfect, but it doesn't have a mid bead, go to a gunsmith and have them install one, if that's what you like. Another craze that's becoming really popular nowadays is to mount a holographic sight on a shotgun and to use it for wing shooting and all sorts of stuff. I don't know how much I like that, but if it works for you, that's fine. Find a gun that you can do that with. If you get a vent rib, a lot of times you can mount a rail on it. Then you can put a holographic sight or a red dot or something on it. But the most important thing is it feels good and it fits you. Like I said over and over, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't fit you, you're not going to shoot it well. It doesn't matter how nice that gun is, how much you spent on it, how great the reviews are for it. If it doesn't fit you and it doesn't feel good when you shoulder it, you might as well have a slingshot or a rubber band gun, because you're going to be just as effective. Well, folks, I hope you got something out of this. Hope you learned a little bit. This is just basic shotgun 101. Some do's and some don'ts. You know, don't get a gun that fits you poorly, even though you got a good deal on it. Your buddy may have a shotgun that, man, I'll sell you this thing for $200. It's a great gun, and it may be, but it may swing like a 2x4. It's not going to work. Now, with that type of a price, can a gunsmith make it fit you right and you still come out ahead? Maybe. Like I said, you can have something that's all beat up and the wood's all scarred up and everything, but if it fits you right, it doesn't matter. You're going to shoot it well. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. You got any other little tips and tricks and whatnot for Shotgun 101? Let me know. Get you a gun that fits you well, that you're comfortable with, and you're going to break more targets, you're going to kill more game. That's all there is to it. That's why I've done so well in the past with New England Firearms and H&R single shots, because they fit me well. That's why I've done really well with Remington 870s. They fit me well. I've had other guns, Charles Daly automatics, some other that just didn't fit me well. I didn't shoot them. Get the right gun to serve your purpose. Make sure it fits you well. And it doesn't matter what your buddies have, you're going to shoot the best you can shoot. And they may rib you a little bit for having a cheap gun or having an ugly gun, but it doesn't matter if you shoot it well. I love you, folks. We'll see you next time.